Welcome back to our channel and to our National Trust Grand Tour. Today we're in the beautiful county of Somerset, just a few miles outside Bristol, exploring Tyntesfield, one of the most spectacular Victorian Gothic Revival houses in the entire National Trust. Tyntesfield was once the country retreat of the Gibbs family, a dynasty who made their fortune importing guano fertiliser from Peru. That's dried bird droppings to you and me. It is now one of the National Trust's most impressive, near-complete Victorian estates, boasting over 540 acres of parkland, gardens and wonderfully atmospheric interiors. So join us for a full interior tour of the grand rooms and the extraordinary chapel, before we head outside to explore the beautiful grounds and gardens that make Tyntesfield such a memorable place to visit.
Before we begin our tour in earnest, let's give you a little historical background. The estate at Tyntesfield was purchased by William Gibbs and his wife Blanche in 1844. What began as a modest, perfectly symmetrical Georgian mansion was dramatically transformed in 1863 when Gibbs fully embraced the Victorian Gothic Revival style. And he really did commit wholeheartedly. Pointed arches, elaborate stone carving, turrets, pinnacles, you name an architectural flourish, he added it. The result is the incredible, richly decorated and decidedly not symmetrical house we see today. Unusually, it was purchased by the National Trust rather than bequeathed, following a huge fundraising campaign in 2002. Today it holds more than 72,000 objects, collected by William Gibbs, his family and descendants, one of the largest collections anywhere in the National Trust.
From the Welcome Building, it is a short walk to the house, but you do get to walk through paradise on the way. No, really you do. This area of the estate, known as Paradise, is a beautifully designed arboretum filled with specimen trees and meandering pathways. It's believed to have earned its heavenly name because the cedars here were grown from seed, brought back from the Holy Land in 1858. Before long, you reach the far end of the broad walk, marked by its large carved stone seat. It's here that you can catch your first glimpse of Tyntesfield itself and experience the classic wow moment as the incredible house stands quietly in the landscape and beckons you closer. As you approach, the broad walk is lined on both sides with pairs of holly trees, thought to be at least 130 years old. Nothing in this landscape is accidental. Every detail was carefully designed and executed.
To reach the entrance, you walk around the south side of the house, passing the stunning terraces. Here's a little glimpse, but more to come on that later. Originally, visitors would have arrived via the South Drive, which was intentionally designed to deliver the most impressive views of both the house and the surrounding parkland. And honestly, it's easy to imagine just how awestruck those Victorian guests must have been. Just look at it. The exterior stonework is a beautiful blend of Bath stone and Devon redstone, giving the house that warm, honeyed glow whenever the sun hits it. It's well worth pausing for a moment to really admire the craftsmanship before we step inside. Entering Tyntesfield feels a bit like stepping into a medieval cathedral, except it's Victorian, of course. The cloister-style entrance hall with its own vestibule is wonderfully atmospheric, with a sequence of bays and vaulted ceilings supported by finely carved stone pillars. It was purpose-built to impress from the very first moment visitors crossed the threshold.
The first room on the tour is a library, home to one of the most significant National Trust book collections, and always a favourite amongst visitors. It contains around 3,000 books collected by 4 generations of the Gibbs family. But what you see here is just a fraction of the Tyntesfield's book collection. In total, there are around 10,000 in the house, one of the largest book collections in the National Trust. The family loved to gather in this room and used it as an informal sitting room, not just a place to store and study books. During our visit, vital cleaning and conservation work was underway. Did you spot the vacuum cleaners and the conservators carefully tending to the collection?
The Oak Room, sometimes referred to as Mr. Gibbs' room, was William Gibbs' personal retreat. Unlike the grand public rooms designed to impress visitors, this space was created purely for comfort and practicality. It served as a private sitting room and study for all 4 generations of Tyntesfield gentlemen, and it remained in regular use right up until 2001, when Richard Gibbs, the last owner of Tyntesfield, died.
One of Tyntesfield's most important reception rooms is the dining room, where the Gibbs family gathered for meals and hosted their more lavish dinner parties. Like many Victorian dining rooms, it has a distinctly masculine feel, with its embossed and gilded leather wallpaper and heavy wooden furniture. Originally, the wallpaper background was a plum colour, but the family decided it made the room too dark. So they instructed a member of staff to hand-paint it cream. No mean feat in a room this size. Just imagine the hours of painstaking work that must have taken.
And now we arrive at the heart of the home here at Tyntesfield, the hall, a truly magnificent and awe-inspiring space. Designed to evoke a sense of Gothic grandeur, its central position made it perfect, both for entertaining and for accessing every other part of the house. Rising 13 metres from the floor to the ridge beam of the carved wooden lantern roof, the hall is flooded with natural light and absolutely brimming with Gothic atmosphere. But the undeniable star of the show is the extraordinary cantilevered stone staircase, sweeping up to the galleried landing and family bedrooms on the first floor. Nothing here is understated, from the stone arches and carved woodwork to the hand-stencilled wallpaper. Yet another painstaking job for someone. The overall effect is dramatic, theatrical, and gloriously Victorian. We will journey upstairs later in the video.
William Gibbs wasn't the only family member with a personal retreat. His wife, Blanche, also had her own private space, the Boudoir, probably once part of the original Georgian mansion. It's a charming room filled with feminine touches, soft colours, delicate furniture, and wallpaper that wouldn't look out of place in a modern home. Surrounding the room is beautiful wooden panelling, topped with an intricate frieze of flowers and fruits. The carvings are really quite wonderful, and are said to have been created by Blanche's son Anthony, who is a highly skilled craftsman.
After the feminine flounces of the boudoir, there's no mistaking the masculinity of the billiard room, a classic feature of most Victorian country houses. When William Gibbs added this room in the 1860s, he had 4 teenage sons, so placing it slightly away from the main part of the house was almost certainly intentional, and frankly very wise, William. The billiard table hides an ingenious, if somewhat impractical, secret. The slate bed is heated by hot water pipes beneath the table connected to the central heating system. This fact, and the sheer size and weight of the table, means it is one of the few pieces of furniture at Tyntesfield that has not been moved for decades.
Of course, no Victorian mansion is complete without its bustling below-stairs world. Visitors can wander through the butler's pantry, complete with rows of storage cupboards for the family's glassware and tableware, and a lead-lined sink designed to reduce the risk of denting the silver when it was washed. And along the corridor you'll find the servants' bell system, an entire line of mounted bells connected to pull handles in every family room. Judging by the sheer number of bells, it's safe to say the servants were kept very, very busy.
Heading back into the hall, it's time to ascend that magnificent staircase to the first floor, where we'll explore a couple of bedrooms and a little later the chapel. And believe me, you won't want to miss that. The staircase itself was moved from its original position during Victorian alterations, allowing for the elegant gallery that now wraps around 3 sides of the upper landing. When the National Trust purchased Tyntesfield in 2002, the original 1890s stair carpet was literally in shreds. The one you see today is an exact replica woven in 2010. Thanks to the huge roof lantern above, the landing is flooded with natural light. An unexpectedly airy and uplifting space in such a grand Gothic home.
This modest but charming bedroom, known as the Charlton Room, is thought to have been used by Blanche Gibbs until her death in 1887. The adjoining bathroom, originally a dressing room, was later converted as part of the house's modernisation, and for many years it was the only ensuite bathroom in the entire house, a rare luxury at the time.
The first floor is a maze of corridors, and what we loved is how the same wallpaper and carpet used in the hall and on the stairs continues throughout, giving the whole upstairs a wonderful sense of cohesion. Along one of these corridors is the Flaxley Room, believed to have been used by Anthony and Janet Gibbs from the late 1880s. Although you can only view it from the doorway, the impressive ceiling height and the grand bed make it very clear that this was an important family bedroom.
And finally, we arrive at what is undoubtedly the architectural climax of Tyntesfield, the chapel. Commissioned by William Gibbs and completed in 1875, it remains virtually unchanged today. Inspired by the medieval Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, it is nothing short of breathtaking. Soaring stone vaults, exquisite stained glass, and intricately carved details everywhere you look. One intriguing feature is the spectacular mosaic floor, or rather the spectacularly convincing carpet. What looks like a tiled mosaic is actually a printed carpet featuring a scale photograph of the mosaic beneath, cleverly protecting the original floor while still allowing visitors to appreciate the design. A brilliant solution. The Gibbs family were devout Christians, and this private chapel reflects both their deep faith and their extraordinary wealth. William spent much of his fortune funding charitable works and churches, including Keble College Chapel in Oxford. And he and Blanche were known locally for the kind and compassionate way they treated their servants and tenants.
And now it's time to step back outside and continue exploring the gardens, beginning with the beautiful formal terraces. Remarkably, the layout here has barely changed since it was first designed for William and Blanche in the mid-1800s. On the sheltered south side of the house, visitors can enjoy wonderful views of the dramatic south façade, as well as this elegant area known as the Terraces, created in the 1850s. The gravel paths meant that the space could be used year-round, and the planting scheme you see today still closely follows the original plan from the early 1900s. And before we leave this spot, we have to show you the delightful little aviary. There are no birds living here now, but the structure has been beautifully restored. Hard to believe it was almost collapsing when the National Trust first acquired Tyntesfield. Isn't it charming?
A very pleasant downhill stroll takes you to the kitchen garden, where the layout has scarcely changed in 130 years. When the Gibbs family lived at Tyntesfield, the garden produced an astonishing variety of fruit, vegetables and flowers for the estate, including figs, peaches, nectarines, and even pineapples in the huge state-of-the-art Victorian glasshouses, which were heated by a network of hot water pipes. Today, the produce is mostly used in the on-site restaurant, and the flowers are arranged for display in the house, helping to keep the estate's carbon footprint to an absolute minimum. The Orangery, now one of the loveliest features, was virtually derelict when the National Trust bought Tyntesfield in 2002. But it was restored to its former glory by students on a stone conservation course at the City of Bath College. And what a fabulous job they did.
Our final garden stop is the Rose Garden, a quiet, secluded area set away from the house. Despite its name, there aren't many roses here today, thanks to the local deer who consider them a tasty snack. The main exception are the magnificent climbing roses that wind around the iron pergola at the centre of the garden, creating a beautiful focal point. Visitors can also explore the fully restored timber and stone Victorian gazebos, which offer sheltered views over the gardens. These were once derelict, but many of the original tiles, found stacked beneath undergrowth, were carefully conserved and reused to bring the gazebos back to their former glory.
Before we finish our tour of Tyntesfield, here are a few tips to help you make the most of your visit. Arrive early. The estate is huge and the house gets busy, especially at weekends and during school holidays. Mornings offer quieter rooms and easier parking. Explore the wider estate. Don't just visit the house. There are woodland paths, open fields, and lovely garden areas that many visitors miss. Try to see the house from every angle. It's possible to walk all the way around the exterior of the house, and it's absolutely worth doing. Each façade is unique and quirky, with hardly a jot of symmetry to be found anywhere.
If you have extra time and fancy exploring more National Trust sites nearby, here are a few great options. Clevedon Court, a medieval manor house with over 700 years of history, connections to Tennyson and Thackeray, and the ancestral home of the Elton family for over 300 years. Dirham Park, a grand Baroque mansion set in a huge deer park with sweeping views, formal gardens and impressive 17th century interiors. Prior Park, an elegant 18th century landscape garden featuring sweeping valley views and one of only 4 Palladian bridges in the world.
Tyntesfield is one of the finest surviving examples of Victorian Gothic Revival architecture in the country, and one of the National Trust's most beautifully preserved family estates. From the atmospheric chapel to its rich interiors, peaceful gardens and the remarkable stories of the Gibbs family, Tyntesfield is full of charm, character and wonderful surprises. If you love history, architecture, gardens, or simply discovering beautiful places, it's an absolute must visit. You could easily spend a whole day here exploring everything it has to offer. And honestly, what could be more wholesome? And perhaps what makes Tyntesfield so fascinating is that the Victorian house, chapel, and most of the original contents, along with the gardens and estate buildings, have remained almost untouched since that grand remodel. They've survived remarkably intact, offering a rare and intriguing glimpse into the Victorian country house life and the world of the Gibbs family. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love you to like it and leave us a comment. We always reply. And if you'd love more National Trust content like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future stops on our National Trust Grand Tour.